Hello everyone and welcome to my first sketchbook tour. In this video I'll be showing you my travel sketchbook and the drawings I did in it during my university trip to Venice. I'll also be completing some incomplete drawings later on, so stay tuned. On this page I drew a haul from the Venice Biennale, and I'm not really sure if I like the way this turned out because it's quite sloppy. But this is the first page, so I guess I was just figuring out the style I wanted to use. On these pages I drew models and I tried to use different line thicknesses and weights, but I'm not really sure if it's obvious. It was good practice though, since there are a lot of models around and a lot of drawing opportunities. On these pages I drew more models and I used more messy techniques, I guess, by using continuous line, and I feel like it was more successful on this page because it looks messy yet kind of artistic, so I guess you have to use it the right way. On these pages I added things that were quite random but kind of caught my eye, like that scarab beetle, the floor design, glass windows, doors, and that really bad drawing I did of a building. Then I drew a boat station. They have these everywhere in Venice, but I still don't know what they're called. But I drew one of those and I added some watercolour. And then on the other page I drew another building and a spiral staircase because that caught my attention too. On the next page I drew the France building from the Giardini, which was the other half of the Biennale exhibition, and I liked this building a lot because it looked quite appealing. On the other page I did drawings from the Venetian church tour, which was quite interesting. I drew some doors and a monk. On the next page I drew a street and a canal, and for these I added a lot of watercolour in kind of ashy sandy colours because it looked really good on the type of paper I have in my sketchbook. Then I did this landscape skyline kind of drawing painting of one of the islands, and I really loved the way this turned out. It has a really nice kind of aged look to it, I guess. So here is one of the drawings that I have yet to complete. As you can tell, all of these drawings look quite bland, and especially with this one you can tell that it really needs some work. So here I am using my watercolors again just to fix up this drawing. I'm gonna take a bit of burnt sienna, I think. Maybe it's mixed with a bit of black as well for a more ashy look. And it's very watered down because I don't want this to be very concentrated at all. I'm just going to put this in the areas that I think need shading and depth. It looks like I'm having a bit of trouble keeping that page down, so I guess I'll just use this pot. Yes, well done me. It is a bit hard though, painting with one hand and filming with the other. Once I think that I've added a good enough layer of that paint, I'll go in a bit darker on the stairs just in front of the building. And I think this is looking more complete already. Next I use a darker colour, a darker brown on the door, because in the picture the door is a dark blue, but I don't really want to use a blue in this drawing because I feel like that would ruin the colour scheme, which is brown in my case. Then I went ahead and added darker brown to any other places where there would be darker shading, like behind the pillars. Then I ended up taking a brighter orange colour and kind of dulling it down a bit, just to add more dimension to the drawing and a different colour, since I just kept the brown before. Then I used a mixture of the orange and brown to paint the stairs, and I like the way this bit turned out, because it's quite a different shade to the building. As you can probably tell, the painting looks nothing like the real thing, but that's okay because it's my interpretation. Then to finish off the painting, I took a blue, and that was a bit too watery, so I dabbed it. But yes, just a bit of blue, very watered down, to complete the sky, just to create a bit of contrast in colour. On to the next painting. This is a room of a very stylish building, and in the picture there are also warm brown tones, so that's no problem for me since I've been doing this throughout the whole book. So I use brown again. And I start off with the tiles on the floor. After a light wash of brown, I go in with the darker brown for the borders on the walls. I'm not sure what to call them, but they're a lot darker in the picture, so I decided to do this. And then I darken up the ceiling as well for a bit of shading. After the browns, I go in with blue just to add some faint details of the outside and the reflection on the ground, and then I mix brown and blue together to make a cool tone grey, and this just goes on the walls. And I feel like this already looks more like a room than it did before. Next is this really simple drawing of an alleyway with my friend in the distance. And this will also contain a lot of brown tones because the walls of the alleyway are quite orangey and brown. Then I added a dark patch of orange, which was not supposed to happen, so I decided to water this down a bit and spread it out. Because sometimes you have to learn to deal with your mistakes. After somewhat completing the alleyway drawing, I moved on to this bridge drawing. It's supposed to look like, actually no, never mind, it's not supposed to look like the picture. Because if you compare it to the picture, it looks nothing like it and kind of bad. So I decided to just improvise and use my own made-up style to draw trees around the bridge and make it look somewhat complete.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow
Then I decided to go over those lines with my sign pen. There it is. This gives you crisp, thick, inky lines, so I wanted to use this because I knew I'd be going over all of this with watercolour, and I'd probably get a nice inky effect because of the ink spreading. I'm not really sure if I completely like the way it turned out after doing this step, but after all, this is experimentation.
And we'll grow in number, fueled
This page is quite different to the other pages in my book because I used more grey tones rather than browns, but I do quite like it. I like the contrast. And with that, we are done completing the incompleted drawings. Thank you for watching. I know this was a long video, but thank you if you did watch all of it. And make sure you leave a like and subscribe. I would appreciate it very much. See you in the next video.